Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make a face wash for acne. So this face wash is most excellent for exfoliating the skin and making it glow. I learned this recipe out of a Victorian era book. It's called, I believe, Toiletries and Cosmetics in Ancient and Modern Times. You can find this book on forgottenbooks.com. That is one of my favorite websites for finding old books. So to start, we're going to need to go collect some rose petals. Spotty! China! Okay, let's see. I think instead of these hybrid tea roses, I'm going to go to the antique roses. That's what this kind of rose bush is called. These are en route antique roses. This kind is called Old Blush. It was brought over from Europe in 1754. Okay, now I'll get some of the petals off of the rose bush. So I would take some roses off of this rose bush as well, but this rose bush only blooms in the spring, so once a year. And it's also an antique rose, so it's not a hybrid tea rose, it's an antique rose. And this variety is called Swamp Rose. It's from 1834. I would say we have enough rose petals though. So you can see the difference between an antique rose, the flower size of an antique rose, and a modern hybrid tea rose, or grandifloria. Okay, in order to make the infusion of roses, which is what this is called, we must first make a solution of dilute sulfuric acid. So that's literally using battery acid, which is 98% concentration sulfuric acid. So in order to make the dilute sulfuric acid, we must add our acid to our water. So do as you oughta, add acid to water. And of course, I'm going to be using my favorite kind of water, which comes from Mineral Wells, Texas. It is mineral water. It's called Crazy Water. So first, we're going to measure out 825 milliliters or cubic centimeters of water. Okay, there's our 825 cc's or milliliters of water. Okay, now I'm going to add this 825 milliliters or cc's of water to this large reagent bottle. Okay, now I'm going to measure out 100 cc's of sulfuric acid, which is equivalent to 100 milliliters. There might be traces of water in this, so it'll sizzle. Okay, now I'm going to add this acid to this water. And remember, do as you ought to, add acid to water. Okay, now I kind of swirl this mixture a little bit to mix everything. And this is our dilute sulfuric acid. Okay, now I'm going to set this dilute sulfuric acid aside and begin making the infusion of roses. So I'll be making my infusion of roses in this empty milk bottle. So first we will start with a half a pint of water, which is equivalent to 1 cup or 8 ounces. Okay, there is my half pint of water. Now I will add 1/4 of an ounce of rose petals to this. Okay, I have combined the water and the rose petals. Now I will add 1 tablespoon or 60 grains of this dilute sulfuric acid mixture to the infusion of roses. Okay, I'm going to measure out my dilute sulfuric acid solution over the sink so I don't spill it on the floor. We're going to be measuring out 1 tablespoon, which is equivalent to 60 grains. Okay, I've measured it. Now I'm going to put this tablespoon of dilute sulfuric acid in the infusion of roses. And that's all you need in there. Now I'll let this sit for 24 hours. You can also boil it if you want to use it immediately. And there's the infusion of roses. After a while, that'll start to turn a reddish pink color, the water in there, and you'll know it's ready for use. Okay, now I'm going to put the lid on. And I might shake it a little. Now I will explain how each ingredient in this works. So the rose petals add vitamin E, and vitamin E is really good for your skin. It's good at masking scars and stuff like that. And then the sulfuric acid, or the dilute sulfuric acid, well, sulfur is an antibiotic and it's used in a lot of antibiotics, so it's an antibacterial. That's good for acne because it gets rid of the bacteria in your pores and everything. And the acid part, so the sulfuric acid, the acid part is what dries out your acne. It dries out the oils and stuff that are in your pores. And that's how this works. After the infusion of roses has sat for 24 hours, you can filter out the rose petals if you want to. Okay, the water's starting to turn a pinkish color. Now I'm going to use some of the infusion of roses I just made. I use this when I remember to, and it works really well when I remember to use it. Also, if you have cuts on your face, like if you shaved with a razor and use this, it burns when it gets in your cuts. Well, obviously it would because it's acidic. But I noticed a few minutes after putting this on, probably about 30 minutes after putting this on, your skin glows. It works really, really well. I would recommend, if y'all want to use this, use it first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And it smells really good. And you can see how dirty my face was, and I just took a shower too. So if y'all have ever heard of sulfur soap for acne, this infusion of roses is superior to that, and it uses the same principle that sulfur kills bacteria. And now you can see my skin is starting to glow.